The testimonies featured on this channel are presented as received, reflecting the personal experience and perspectives of the individuals who have generously shared them with us. We encourage our viewers to approach these testimonies with compassion and understanding, as these are personal testimonies of people involved. We also encourage you to always refer to the Holy Bible and the teachings of Jesus Christ and his apostles for guidance. You can consider subscribing to the channel to help promote this ministry. For centuries, stories of near-death experiences have captivated the human heart. Tales of light, darkness, and the thin veil between this world and the next. But every now and then, a testimony emerges so powerful, so raw, that it shakes the very ground beneath us. This is one of those stories. Zainab was the wife of one of the most respected imams in her region. Her life was shaped by devotion, by tradition, and by a deep sense of duty to Islam. She followed her husband's teachings faithfully. She memorized the Quran, upheld modesty, guided women in her community, and was seen by many as a symbol of righteousness. But what she saw on the other side of death shattered everything she believed in. This is not just a story about a woman who died and returned. This is about betrayal in the afterlife, a husband's confession in hell, a truth that burned hotter than the flames, and a name, Jesus, that echoed through eternity, changing her forever. What you're about to hear may challenge you. It may bring tears, fear, confusion, but it will also stir something deep inside you, because when death speaks, it tells the truth. Let's hear from Zainab.
It was a normal morning. I had just finished my Fajr prayer, and I remember sitting on the prayer mat, whispering du'as. My chest started to feel tight. At first, I thought it was stress or lack of sleep. But then the pain worsened. My breath shortened. Everything turned white. I collapsed. The next thing I remember was floating. I saw my own body lying on the mat. My mouth was slightly open, my eyes half shut. I wanted to cry out, but no sound came. I turned and saw my husband, Imam Farouk, entering the room. He ran to me, screaming my name. He was shaking me, but I couldn't respond. I saw the tears on his face. Then a force pulled me. It was fast. So fast. Like being sucked through a tunnel with shadows racing past me. Whispers, cries, screams. Then I landed. It was dark. Not the kind of dark you find in a closed room at night. This was heavy, pressing, alive. I could feel fear crawling over my skin. There was heat. Not like an oven, but like fire wrapped in hate. And then I heard the sounds, people screaming, crying, begging. A voice laughed somewhere far away, deep and cold. And then I saw him. My husband. My Imam. The man I had loved, served, obeyed. He was burning. Not just his skin. His soul. His eyes were swollen with tears and terror. His clothes were tattered. Worms crawled in and out of his body. Flames licked his feet and devoured his hands. He saw me, and he screamed, "Zainab, why are you here?" I couldn't speak. I was frozen. I was sure I had come to the wrong place. I wasn't meant for this. I had prayed. I had fasted. I had followed the Quran and served my husband. How could I be here? He cried again. "Zainab, listen to me. Everything I taught was a lie. We were wrong." I shook my head. "No, you were the Imam. You knew the Quran by heart." His voice cracked. "We were wrong about Jesus. Zainab, he is the Son of God. I saw him. He is not just a prophet. He reigns in glory. I screamed back, "Stop it. That's blasphemy." But then something happened. A light pierced the darkness. Pure, white, yet gentle. The flames shrank away. The screams quieted. I turned and saw him. I knew instantly it was Jesus. But he didn't look angry. He didn't look vengeful. He looked heartbroken. He walked toward me, and the heat faded around me. My husband tried to move toward him, but something chained him down. Jesus looked into my eyes and said, "Zainab, I loved you before you knew my name. I died for you, not to shame you, but to free you. Will you listen now?" I fell to my knees. I couldn't breathe. I felt the weight of truth crush me. Everything I believed, everything I trusted, it trembled. I whispered, "But I was told you were just a prophet." He knelt and touched my shoulder. "I am more. I am the way, the truth, the life." I wept. He held me. And then I was pulled back. I woke up in the hospital. Tubes in my nose. Beeping machines. Nurses yelling. My body aching. My soul shattered. My husband had died from a heart attack an hour after I collapsed. He never woke up. But I saw him after death. And I saw the truth. The days that followed were torture. I couldn't tell anyone what I saw. Who would believe me? I was the Imam's wife. My reputation was everything. But the visions didn't stop. Every night, I saw him in the flames, crying out to me. "Tell them, Zainab! Don't let them come here." I stayed silent. Until the night my 12-year-old daughter came to me, crying. She said she had a dream of a man in white who told her, "Your mother is hiding the truth." That broke me. I told my family. They screamed. My brother slapped me. My father said I had dishonored the family. My mother wept and called me cursed. My son refused to speak to me. My youngest daughter cried for her father. And I wept for their souls. I tried to stay quiet again. But Jesus wouldn't let me. He kept coming to me in visions, showing me people, faces I knew, who would perish if I didn't speak. So I spoke. I started with the women in my mosque. They threatened me, said I had been brainwashed, that I had gone mad after my husband's death. That grief had poisoned my mind. But I knew what I saw, and I couldn't unsee it. That was just the beginning. There's more. Much more. The rejection. The threats. The miracles. The unexpected ally. The attack that almost ended me again. After I began speaking the truth about what I saw in death, about Jesus, my life changed forever. The women in the mosque told my in-laws. My brother came to my house the next day with a group of men. He didn't ask questions. He didn't listen. He dragged me into the living room in front of my children and shouted, "You bring shame on us. How dare you speak of Jesus like this? Have you forgotten your husband was an imam?" I trembled. My youngest daughter clung to my dress, crying. But I stood my ground. I said, I loved my husband. But he is in hell, and he begged me to speak the truth. That was the first time my brother hit me hard across the face. Blood filled my mouth. My daughter screamed. He shouted, "If you do not repent and return to Islam, we will treat you as dead." And that's what they did. They held a funeral for me. My name was scratched off family records. My photos were removed from the walls. My voice was no longer welcome in any gathering. But in that rejection, I found something unexpected. Peace. Not from people, but from Him. I kept having dreams. Vivid, clear dreams. I would see Jesus walking through the burning places I had witnessed, reaching out His hand to others, calling them by name, crying for them. He wept more than I imagined a king ever would. He showed me children from my neighborhood, a woman who taught Quran at the madrasa, a young man I had known since he was 5, all of them walking toward the flames because no one had told them the truth. And in those dreams, I heard Jesus whisper, "Zainab, if you will not speak, who will?" So I spoke. I went to the marketplace and stood by a bench. I told people, gently, what I had seen. Some laughed. Some spat. A few cursed me. But one old woman stood nearby, listening with tears in her eyes. Later, she found me and said, "I had a dream last week. I saw Jesus too, but I was too afraid to speak." I took her hand and said, "Then let's not be afraid anymore." That woman, her name was Salima, became the first person to join me. But with her came the next storm. That night, as I walked home, I was followed. I heard footsteps behind me, quick, angry, deliberate. I tried to hurry, but then someone grabbed me by the scarf and pulled me into an alley. 3 men. Faces I didn't recognize. One held a knife. Another gripped my arms. The third stared into my eyes with such hate, I thought he had no soul. "You are the Imam's wife who betrayed Islam," one said. I couldn't speak. The one with the knife hissed, "If you open your mouth again about Jesus, we will cut out your tongue." They beat me. I don't remember how long. I lost consciousness. I woke up in a small clinic. Salima had found me. She stayed by my side. My ribs were broken. My eyes swollen shut. But my heart burned stronger than before. Because during the beating, something happened. As I faded into unconsciousness, I saw Jesus again. But this time, he was on the cross. Bleeding. Broken. And he looked at me with the same eyes I had seen in the flames. He whispered, "They hated me first." And then I was gone. When I woke up, I realized I wasn't alone anymore. Jesus wasn't just a name. He was with me. After I recovered, I began to speak again. Quietly, carefully, but never with fear. I began meeting with Salima and 2 other women who had come forward after hearing my story. One of them had lost a child and had cried out to Jesus in desperation, and she said he appeared to her in a dream. These women became my sisters. We read the Injil in secret. We prayed together. We wept for our families. We wept for our people. We fasted, not just to fulfill rituals, but to draw close to the one who had pulled me from the fire. And then came another twist. One night, I had a vision. In it, I saw my late husband again, but this time, he wasn't burning. He looked at me from behind something like glass. He was weeping. He said, "Zainab, forgive me." I knew parts of the truth, but I was afraid. I preached lies to protect my honor. I ignored the whispers. Jesus came to me in dreams before I died, but I shut him out. I told myself it was Shaitan. I led others astray. And now, I am bound in the fire. I asked him, "Is there no hope for you?" He looked down, then up again. There is no repentance after death. But you are alive. Save them. Save our children. Save those I misled. I woke up shaking. I ran to my daughter's room and fell to my knees, crying. She woke up and looked at me with fear. "Mama, what's wrong?" I took her hands and whispered, "I need to tell you something. And you need to listen with your heart." That night, I told her everything. About the death, the hellfire, Jesus, the truth. I expected her to scream, run, or hate me. But she just looked into my eyes and asked one question. Did Jesus cry for me too? I broke down. Yes, he did. She hugged me. That was the moment my first child came to Jesus. It wasn't fast. It wasn't loud. It was quiet and powerful. But my son, he was harder. He had begun studying under another Imam. He had already grown bitter, angry. When he found out I had told his sister, he came to me with tears and fury. "You're poisoning her. You're leading us to hell." And I looked into his eyes and said, "Then come with me next time I die. See it for yourself." He left the house and didn't return for days. Meanwhile, word had spread. I had become the mad widow. Some said I was demon-possessed. Others said I had converted for money. Some even claimed I was bewitched by a Christian man. But I didn't stop. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same thing, my people walking into fire, and Jesus weeping behind them, arms stretched wide, calling out, "Come to me. I will give you rest." There was more persecution coming, more pain, and a moment that nearly took my life again. But before that, something beautiful happened. The persecution didn't break me. If anything, it made me stronger. But I knew something was coming. I could feel it, like the silence before a storm. I had begun to speak to more people in secret. Some listened. Others threatened. A few believed. But I was still hunted. One day, after returning from a quiet gathering with Salima and the others, I found the door to my house wide open. My daughter wasn't home. I rushed inside, furniture overturned, books torn, papers scattered. Then I saw it. Painted on the wall, in red. Silence or die. I fell to the floor and wept. Not for myself, but for my daughter. I thought they had taken her. I cried out to Jesus in a voice I didn't know I had. And in that moment of terror, I heard a still, small whisper in my spirit. Do not be afraid. I am with her. An hour later, she returned home. She had gone to visit a friend and stayed longer than planned. She hadn't seen what happened. When she saw the mess, she froze. I told her it was time to leave. We could not stay there. We moved to a small village far from where we lived before. A place where no one knew our names. It wasn't easy. We had little money. No reputation. No protection. But we had Jesus. And then came a miracle. One night, I was praying alone. I had just finished reading a passage where Jesus said, "Bless those who persecute you." I was struggling with it. I remembered my brother's face. The bruises. The pain. The humiliation. Could I really bless them? Then I heard a knock. When I opened the door, my son stood there. Thin. Pale. Tired. He looked into my eyes and whispered, "I had a dream, Mama." I held my breath. He continued, I saw Abba, our Father. He was screaming in flames. He reached out to me, crying, don't follow me here. Listen to your mother. Tears filled his eyes. Then I saw a man, glowing white. He touched my shoulder and said, you are loved. You are chosen. Come to me. And Mama. I think it was Jesus. I fell to my knees. My son dropped beside me. We cried. 4 hours. He asked me to teach him about the Jesus I knew. Not the one he had learned to debate, but the one who had saved my soul. That night, we were a family again. But not long after, the danger followed us. It was a warm evening. We had just shared a meal. I was walking outside to gather laundry when I saw a shadow move near the edge of the field. Before I could speak, a sharp pain struck my side. Then another. I collapsed. There was blood. My vision blurred. I heard footsteps running away. I had been stabbed. As I drifted into unconsciousness, I felt coldness wrap around me. Not fear, but peace. I knew I was slipping again into that place between life and death. But this time, it was different. No darkness. No tunnel. Just light. I stood in a field, full of golden wheat, swaying in the wind. A river flowed nearby. Birds sang. The sky glowed with colors I cannot describe. And then, I saw him again. Jesus. He walked toward me with a smile. He reached out his hand and touched my wound. It vanished. You've been faithful, Zainab. I couldn't speak. I just wept. He lifted my chin. But your time is not yet. I whispered, please, don't send me back. He gently shook his head. There are still souls who need your voice. I cried, I'm tired. He looked behind me, and I turned. I saw them. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Faces I knew. Women from the mosque. Children from the school. My own mother. My neighbors. Friends. Enemies. All walking toward the flames. I turned back to Jesus, sobbing. He said, now you understand. And then, I was back. In a hospital bed. Tubes again. Machines again. Pain again. But I smiled. Because I had seen the harvest. And I wasn't done yet. Salima sat beside me. When I opened my eyes, she cried, praise Jesus, she's alive. From that day on, our little group grew. We shared our stories quietly, but boldly. Women came. Men too. Some left in fear. Others stayed and wept. I knew I was risking everything. Every day. But I had already died once. I had seen hell. I had heard my husband's cries. And I had heard Jesus weep for the very people who hated him. That changes you. It breaks you. But it also rebuilds you. Today, I live in hiding. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. I still bear the scars. Some on my skin. Some in my heart. But my soul is alive. My children follow Jesus. My daughter wants to teach other girls. My son now shares his own testimony with young men. And I, as Zainab, once the devoted wife of an Imam, once the voice of Islamic purity, now live to speak of the one I once rejected. Jesus. The Savior who found me in hell. the shepherd who wept for my soul, the king who forgave me. And if you are listening to this story, if you're still holding on to pride, fear, tradition, please know, I understand. I once did too. But I saw the truth when I died. And I came back to tell you. He is waiting. He is calling. Come, before it's too late.